right ship to start off with often comes down to a question of utility, but how a ship makes you feel should never be overlooked. This is the new Gatac Syulen, an alien starter ship that offers something different for players starting off in Star Citizen: style with substance. However, its alien design may prove a challenge for new pilots and may not suit just anyone. Join me then as I take you on a tour of the first fully alien starter ship Star Citizen has ever introduced. On this latest installment of an Architect Reviews, we'll examine its specifications, then dive deeper into its design, both external and internal, which together will round out a more complete view of what this Xi'an ship has to offer. By the end, I hope to have helped you decide, and if I've done a good job and you think I deserve it, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to let me know that you want more. While the Syulen is more than its utility, you should still know what you're getting yourself into should you buy the ship. For price then, the ship is currently on sale for $72.25 on the website, but will go up to $85 following the conclusion of the sale as a standard starter pack. It's classified as light freight or multi-purpose and can accommodate both human and Xi'an pilots, but don't let the Xi'an part fool you, there are no Xi'an aliens in the game just yet. It has 3 external cargo racks that can carry up to 6 SCU of cargo boxes, plus an additional 0.5 SCU of stowage underneath the bed on the interior. The ship is also quite agile thanks to its 24 maneuvering thrusters, 3 retro thrusters, and 6 main thrusters, which can deliver up to 19 Gs of forward acceleration and can propel it to reach a top speed of 1,200 meters a second outside of quantum travel. The ship also boasts a large quantum fuel tank of 2,900 liters, allowing it to install fast quantum drives without depleting its drive jumping at standard ranges. This will be a great ship option then for larger systems like Pyro. On the offense, the Syulen is comparably well armed with its contemporaries, boasting 3 size 3 gun mounts and 12 size 2 missiles on custom racks. When it's time to defend, it also has 2 size 1 shields, providing adequate protection for both ship and cargo, although its large silhouette may provide a large target to skilled PvP pilots. But with those basics out of the way, let's now move on to touring the ship. Defining the Gatac Syulen as alien in design for Star Citizen goes beyond just interesting shapes and color schemes. When you first encounter the ship in its landed form, you'll discover that its orientation is very different from anything else in the game. Instead of taking off horizontally like a space plane, if you will, it looks directly perpendicular to where it's landed for takeoff. This vertical organization then drives the entire ship's design, from the cockpit at its pinnacle down to its transforming tri-engine propulsion system that serves as a support while landed. In terms of shape language, the designers suggest a preference for strong hexagons and triangular forms. Much of the exterior comes down to variations on this theme then, which blend together with more organic polygon forms that physically tie each piece together. Despite its complexity though, its tri-pattern form from afar still feels understandable, which I think is quite an accomplishment given how detailed the ship is. And I think this probably comes down to them just spending enough time and getting the basic shape down before moving on to doing the detailing, which is probably just good ship design in general. Orientation though isn't the only thing that's alien about the design. The materials selected to clad its exterior are also equally as unusual. You may have already noticed that instead of something like exotic metals or heat shield composites, the Gatac offers stone as a material, complete with the vein highlights. This suggests that the designers wanted to tell a story about how material sciences and aesthetics evolved differently for the reptilian Xi'an race. It may be that designers are the only ones that notice this kind of design storytelling, but the effect is still substantial for viewers of it. And while it might be a bit cliche for alien spaceships, the color purple scheme they have going on is really cool, and I also like how they intersperse some different colors to mix it up on the back engine thrusters. Because of this strange design though, they also needed to come up with a unique solution for cargo. In this vertical design, it's a lot more difficult to put the cargo in a traditional cargo bay, as it could obstruct the way to get to the cockpit, which is now very far off the ground instead of close to it like in more traditional designs. They look to have addressed this by putting the 6 SCU of cargo on the outside of the ship's hull, allowing the vertical circulation to go straight up the axis of the ship. This does, however, carry several downsides, such as not having the ability to hold anything other than a single 1SU box of cargo in each slot, or for that matter, a vehicle or any kind of salvage you might pull off a wreck. But whether or not that matters to you is only for you to decide. But you should weigh it against what's on the interior, because it's a lot more than other ships within its class. The entrance presentation is fittingly unique. Depressing an alien symbol near one of the faceted sides releases a series of animated steps held up by the manufacturer's Gravtech. The trivial nature of its utilization is perhaps a way to subtly communicate the Xi'an's mastery of a technology that humans are still and lore struggling with. If it's possible then to anthropomorphize the lizard turtle people, we might say that they're showing off a bit here. Stepping up the magical floating steps into what I call the foyer, the interior's design translates the overall shape language of the exterior pretty successfully. However, the designers clearly made a conscious decision here to err more on the side of organic shapes as opposed to rough polygons, which I think was a pretty good call, because despite the tight confines, it feels pretty cozy with these smooth forms. Just as on the exterior, interior panels layer here and sweep up from the floor to the wall to the ceiling and unify the whole space together in a really cohesive way. I particularly like the subtle detailing that you'll find on places like the metal paneling of the escape pod, or at least I think that's what this is. It speaks to the deceptively simple nature of the interior, which turns out to be quite complex when you start doing things like pressing buttons on these access panels, which fold out and array using the Gravtech a bunch of the ship's internal systems. And on the subject of utility, just to the left of the escape pod you'll find access to a gun rack, which also has some utility slots which are color-coded. The organizational part of my brain, which doesn't always win, really appreciates this detail. But if I had to make a critique, it would be that the space feels maybe a little bit too dark. I also feel like the button to trigger the stairs to exit the ship should have been a little bit more clearly demarked from the other buttons which open panels. This would have made its use a little bit more legible. And finally, after having used this ship on a box delivery mission, which is just one of the things I do to test a starter ship, I realized that there's also really no good place to put a single small handheld box. This is something I wish they would do more on starter ships, as it's a pretty typical starter mission that new players will do. And while yeah, you could argue you just throw it on the floor, having a designated design space for it would have made it feel just a little bit more crafted for the needs of new players. But these, in the end, are kind of like minor nitpicks and don't affect the overall success of the ship in my mind. So it's high time we moved up a deck in this ship, and this ship actually has 3 decks, one of the impressive things about the Syulen. Up a uniquely shaped elevator one deck, labeled in Xi'an text, is the habitation area of the ship. Just across from the entrance to the right side you'll find a small desk, presumably for eating, for whatever the Xi'an eat, and then to the left of that you'll find a small sleeping cubby of unusual design. This is yet again another sign of the ship's alien origins, where it's not just the form of the bed, but its unusual stone materials that once again showcase that this is an alien space. Suffice it to say, you're probably not buying this ship for the creature comforts then, but at least they gave us a nice pillow. Just to the left of that though, and through an overly complex set of multi-panel doors, you'll find the ship's head. Depressing another button on the wall will reveal the ship's toilet, which is nothing really new to Star Citizen. They've done this on a number of ships, and I hope they keep it up because animated toilets are hilarious. I like to imagine someone accidentally hitting the button while they're using it. Unexpected though is just to the left of that, right when you walk in, where there's a wall urinal thing, which so turns out to be a Xi'an toilet, which doubles as a hand-washing basin for humans, which is a little bit gross, but I prefer just not to think about it. Now that we've learned a little bit too much about Xi'an xenobiology, it's time for us to step up to the last deck, the flight deck. Revisiting the elevator, I'd like to point out though, just before we go up there, that there's a cool window detail in each corner of the shaft here. I really love seeing viewports on ships and wish that Star Citizen would do them more. It's cool to be able to see what the outside world is like before you step out to the exterior. When you arrive, you're presented with the showpiece of the ship's interior, which was suitably referred to by one of the ship team as a cathedral-like space. That's exactly how I would compare it, especially with the canopy topping the very pinnacle of the space. When the light casts in, it gives it a very ethereal feeling. This makes the flight seat feel almost like an altar or a throne. The adjacent wall paneling also worked to help emphasize this with all the lines that seem to lead your eyes to the seat. Giving in to the temptation to sit down then pays off in a very satisfying way. Activating the flight seat catapults you up into the canopy at the very pinnacle of the space through an elaborate dance of grav-supported elements. It feels like a celebration of your arrival each time you use it, making this flight seat probably the most elaborate and exciting of any ship currently in the game. Arriving at the top, though, will remind you once again of the unusual nature of the Syulen. Depending on what hangar you were assigned, it's not unlikely that you're now staring at the ceiling of the hangar. And we arrive then at the primary reason for why this ship may not be the best choice for every new player. Among all the ships available in Star Citizen to fly, the Syulen may just be the most challenging to take off and land in, depending on the situation. The best advice I can give you then if you're going to fly it is to slowly touch off and then pitch the ship forward until you see the entrance without retracting the landing gear. If you have something like a Tobii Eye Tracker 5 like me, the Syulen canopy also offers some pretty good visibility which you can use to your advantage to spot any obstacles on your way out. Once leveled off though, it's a simple matter of throttling forward to clear the doors, where you can then retract the landing gear and deploy your wings. And landing can be just as tricky, but I found that reversing the takeoff sequence can work pretty well. You fly level with the pad that you intend to land on, and then pitch up until you see 90 degrees. Then you can either slowly back up until you get a landed indicator, or cut your power to engines altogether and let gravity do the rest, though just be sure that you're not too far off the ground if you choose to do that. If you can get past the challenging takeoff and landing sequence though, the ship is a pleasure to fly and look at. The takeoff animation, thruster animations, and lighting and silhouette all come together in a very impressive way. The Gatac Syulen to me then turns out to be form and function in a cohesive package. As I said in the interior section though, I would like to see some more design consideration for new players, like a place to put small delivery packages, but this is just a minor concern. The ship is still fantastic, and clearly the ship team had a lot of fun here in thinking of ways the Xi'an race's lore could inform the ship's design in meaningful ways. In terms of price, it offers a lot of benefits that other ships in its class just don't, including one of the biggest interiors of the entire lineup. However, its lack of an internal cargo bay make its versatility not as good as that on the Titan or Cutter, which makes it incapable of carrying things like salvage or small vehicles. What's left then to decide is whether or not its impressive design, interior space, and decent firepower are enough to outweigh the more challenging flight profile and cargo limitations. From a pure utilitarian perspective, it falls a bit short, but as I said at the start, how a ship makes you feel should be just as important. So what have you decided? Is the Syulen for you, or are you sticking with the tried and true Cutter or Avenger Titan? Let me know down below. Also, as a special thanks to those of you who have stayed all the way until the end, I've got a Syulen to give away to one of you. All you need to do is like, be subscribed, and tell me in the comments what you like about the Gatac Syulen. I'll respond to the winner and let them know that they've won in about a week from now using this account, and you'll know it's me if you look for the official checkmark next to my name. So be sure not to get scammed. There's been a lot of scammers in the comments recently, and I just can't ban them fast enough. So good luck out there, and see you guys in the verse.